Okay, so today I wanted to try and conceptualize slash build a creature. Um, I've been working on it a little bit, but I wanted to try to make a creature page with what I've been working with. So on our right here we have uh, the monster statistics from Dolomwood TTRPG. They're pretty cool. I've read through the book and I like how evocative their story slash world is. So right now I have like loose um, concepts. So if I maximize this, I have like the IRL references. So I want the creature to be, it's a Kyotte. It's something between a coyote, a raccoon, and a fox. Um, in most games, there are goblins like these, or orcs, like vagabonds, things like that, almost like bandits. They're like, rugged, in the forest, come to take all your stuff. And so I never really liked how goblins just stayed with like these rudimentary tools until they build up to this horde that overwhelms like a town or a city or something like that. Um, like, why would a creature that has somewhat intelligence stay uh, in this state for such a long period of time? And it just seems artificial to me. But I still like the concept of you running into like these pesky creatures that give you issues when you're out in the world. So if I go down here, this is like their more humanoid slash hostile variant, the Werote, and they're like little vile creatures that ransack your goods no matter how hard you try to hide them. Um, Beastkin know them very fairly well, and they describe them like little gremlins, or AKA goblins. Um, Alone, they're not much of a threat. So if you see one straggling, the players might hear like rumors of like kids going missing or things happening to frail elderly, things like that. If the player chooses to engage with those rumors, they may find out that it is a Orote, a small, hostile variant of these creatures. However, they can quickly build up and overwhelm um, an area. So they go from harming um, anyone that's like on the outskirts to attacking caravans or carriages, wanderers, things like that. And then there's like such tales of them going after whole villages and things like that. So it fits the concept of a goblinoid creature with without the um, that state where they are constantly are artificially held down. I feel like that's basically how it is, like gamified whenever they stay as rudimentary tools. So like here's all the like art I've picked up along the way. I did this today, just seeing like raccoons and foxes. And then I conceptualize a goblin within my world, what they would do and how they would be. So these are like some of the things they would, or how they would act. And then I would want to transfer this over to the Kyotte. So yeah, let me switch back there so we could see the Dolan Woods page. And I wanted to use their page as like inspiration slash to help me form the page. So here's a blank page. And the Kyotte is like a simple creature that can turn into other creatures. One of them being the Goblin or the Urote that I was describing earlier. So if you notice, they have like the header. Oh. See, the thing is, like, all the creatures should be probably the same header, right? The same color. But if I was going to make a creature color, I'm not sure which one it would be. That's kind of hard to see. I'll just leave it as the standard for now. You can worry about that later. So a description, their size. I am not too focused on size of creatures. So why does size matter in my game? It's like, so how you can move the creature, usually, right? So I'm going to ignore that. The type, they would be an animal, or a beast, rather. Ooh, intelligence. Now, Kyottes, although they are beasts, they are more intelligent than the average beast because they like to grab things. I'd have to figure out how to word that properly. Alignment, I mean, I feel like alignment doesn't really, I don't really have the alignment system of chaos and order in my TTRPG. It's more so there's different states of the world. I would say that these creatures are more chaotic than orderly, so I'd have to come back to this. And then game statistics, it looks like they have the level. Ooh, I'd have to figure out how I want to do this because if I'm making creatures, they don't really have levels. They have tiers, so it's a tier 1 creature. Typically that means that they're more common and they are easier to deal with. They have like one mechanic that's loosely tied to them. It would be something like a tier 1 threat. Ooh, so the next section, oh sorry, let me scroll down here. So, armor class. That's going to be something like in my game, you can target specific aspects of the specific limbs of the creature, and the limbs are tied to abilities. So like for example, the head would have a call ability. The legs would have a dash ability. The Kyotte has hands like a raccoon, so they're able to grab things loosely. So they have a snatch ability. They also have a tail. If I remember correctly, there's 5 things tied to a creature. There are limbs. Well, I'll just write it again. There's the head, chest, arms, legs, tail, wings. I think that's it. So they don't have wings. They don't have... Will they have a chest ability? I'd say no. Maybe the tail also has snatch. Or confound. They use their tail in a way that makes it harder to tell which direction they're going, so they're able to dodge a little bit more easier. So within the game, there's no real number you're trying to hit on the enemy side. Rather, all the stats are character facing. So the character has their weird, so they know what number they need to roll under or over. And if you want to target a specific limb, you'd have to be precise. So you have to roll under. And then if they don't care, they just want to try and hit it. I used to have it to where if you roll over, you do like multiple things. So you'd hit like multiples of their limbs. Oops. And then I also want to make it this way. It's where the GM that's playing the creature can roll a dice. So they don't have to choose an action. They could just roll and have an action occur as well. Oh, this is also tied to their hit points. So the next section talk about how much HP the creature has. Well, it's equivalent to how many limbs they have. They have offensive and defensive actions. Typically, they... I would say this might be more tied to the morale. Because, for example, let's say you break their head, they would have a morale check. If you break any 2 of the other limbs, you would have a morale check. And then on 3 or more limbs, it would flee. So, how would I do that? That's like HP slash... morale. But if they're in a group, note large group will be less likely to flee. So I have to simplify all this into quote unquote HP. HP / morale. We're on section 3. So now we want to talk about save targets. So now we would expand this. The snatch ability would be how you would save. So you have to roll to keep your item. They're very likely to. There are creatures that instead of targeting hit points directly, they can target hit points with oh, I guess scratch. Whoops. No. There. Bite. And that would be able to be something like Yelp. Oh, right. So if I go back to the previous page, what other abilities do goblins have? So goblins initiate on the PC. If the goblin wins initiative, they typically dart off, pushing the PC into offensive phase. They will execute the goblin as a free action before entering their offensive phase. So PCs can like outright kill goblins. Exhaust action, dart. After winning initiative, exhausting a die to dash from one zone to in an area to another. So they gain. So if I just go down here and like kind of expand on their abilities. That's one of the actions. Different zone. Oh, and that would be like an ability. If I go back to play dead after being struck, laying down dead if an enemy enters your zone. I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep this. I like the idea of like the goblins being like tricksy. So you can't really trust your senses and what's going on. But there's that other creature that plays dead. What with the possum? Possums play dead, but these aren't really tied to possums. So if I wanted like a possum type creature later on, I guess they both can play dead. That's possible, right? Have the play dead ability. So you almost can't trust going up to them. So you wouldn't want to get, you kill one, you're not sure if it's dead, you don't go near it. Maybe you tell the ranger, hey, take that one out. Or you go up while guarding it. Well, while in a guarded state, rather. Oh, wrong one. See, this one, the next ability would be like a grapple action. But these creatures don't really have the ability to grab. Oh, I guess they can bite. They can. Oh, actually, I should read the rest, right? Any action that allows the goblin to attack. Instead, you can enter a duel with the PC. So the Kyotte can. Clasping jaw. Okay, that's simple enough. Um, yeah, yeah, I'll just leave it like that for now. This is like a simple concept. Now another thing I'm wondering slash wrestling is if I come up with like half a dozen abilities, but they only have 4, then the GM can play around and only give like a Kyotte, like the GM could roll 1d6 for instance, and then the creature can have 1d6 abilities. They can only have 1, or they can have all the way up to 6. So if they have 1, the GM could play with, why does the creature only have 1? So maybe it's like an infant, or it was injured, or now it's old or elderly. Versus if it has a 6, maybe it's an adult, it's strong, and then something in between. You could kind of play with the in-between ones. Again, maybe it was injured, that's why it only has 2 or 3 abilities. And then you can, if you are going off of that concept, they're more likely to scatter or flee. Hit it one more time, it'll run away. And then hitting the head doesn't really kill the creature outright, rather it disables the ability. Unless your character has an ability that executes them. I believe the Baroker can outright execute creatures. Oh, I keep going to the wrong one. Is that kind of... It's a piece of roll to turn it into the god accessory grapples. Sauce action upon successfully grappling the PC, the GM cannot think. So if the like a second part of the ability, tear, tear, and rend, something like that. If the PC fails roll, then the G. Oh, I just had the word and it left me. Eh. The tears the so this is like by stealing something, that's how they deal damage. And note, so really it can only do one wound, Kyotes. But it's a big thing, you know? They take an item, they deal a wound, they're running away. Just a pain to deal with. So that takes this concept of a goblin and kind of transfers it over. I need to go back to the layout. The creatures save targets listed using the following initials: Doom, Ray, Hold, Blast, Spell. I'm gonna switch over to the Wraith. So that's section 3. Well, Avarice, Speech, Morale 9. I've never played OSR or anything like that. You have to do 9 damage or when they have 9 HP left. Uh, I'll just name it Nah. Let's see. If I go to attacks, so I combined armor class, kind of combined hit points, like how much HP they have, because their abilities are their hit points. I have the save. They have an ability that requires the PC to roll, aka make a save. I have the attacks. Speed, the creature's speed. I still need to make a yelp. A couple more abilities. So next up, speed. Okay. Yelp, bite. That was just snatch, right? Clasping jaw. That's them trying to take something. I don't know, clasping jaw. Clasping hands. Clasping paws. I don't know, clasping jaw. Paws. Which one's better? With their teeth and paws? Rend. Reveals world and QC tears the item from the PC, dealing 1 wound damage. I would you know what? I would say they only have one grab. And the grab is tied to the bite. No, I'll just make another ability, right? So, bite. Quarry. Bite. Marking the bite of their quarry. No, it's more. The Kyotte are not. I might have to reword that. I'm not too sure. I mean, it should be super basic, yeah. If it should be like. An empty mouth is not too necessarily a good thing. It may mean they hunger more than they envy. Something like that. I'll work on it. But for now, something like into Well, it has to be super plain, right? Yeah, you're right, you're right. Dealing 1 wound. There. And then earlier I had gnaw, so it's like hunger. Claw drives the G. Oh, I had, if I remember correctly, I had it over here, right? The Goblin had something like that. Upon successful grappling, the PC, the Goblin can gnaw and bite, dealing 1d4 wounds. Can tear and rend. So what if I like combine these somehow? So I think I want to get rid of this from the clasping. Because if I keep this simple, so grab something item, teeth and paws, the PC must make a power roll or lose the item. That's simple enough. Bite, however, has these two. It's like drives the Kyotte to tear and rend. To rend flesh from their target. Should the PC have to save against this? I would say so. I would say again a power roll. Or suffer 1d4 wounds. So the bite's already bad enough. Oh, bite's kind of like a grapple. Nothing then is more likely to bite at their quarry, tear into PC's limb. It's already doing 1 damage. It's pretty bad enough. I would make the clasping paws the grapple, if anything. That makes, if I wanted to expand this. So, something like, if the PC succeeds, that feels bad. If they succeed but it's still grappling onto you, then you have to make like another roll to free yourself. Then isn't it the same thing here? Drives. The PC must make a power roll, free themselves from the bite. I'll make this like a 2-step one. Oh, actually. So they have a bite that deals. If nothing is in the Kyotte's mod that is more likely to bite at their quarry, I would say. Oh, they cling to the PC, to the target. Oh, have to standardize the language later, the terminology. They cling to the PC. And then gnaw is an aspect of bite. It's like no, the hunger drives the Kyotte, and then the Kyotte does like a big damage. So the PC has two chances, and then if not, they suffer the 1d4. And the PC fails, it tears into them. So that could be part of. That could be part of clasp. Another one would be oh, I could change these by the way. So we have dash, play dead, clasping pause. So snatch could be clasping pause. We have bite. We still need yelp. See, the thing is like, right now they have bite. If they're in large numbers, if I have them biting and scratching, I would say they're unintentionally scratching. And then scratching is more so surface wounds, especially if players are wearing armor and whatnot. They can't really scratch you deep enough to damage you. So, and we already have the bite, so. Yelp. What is it? Yelp, bite, class, boss, scratch, scratch. We instantly dash. No, we have dash, and then confound. Yelp. Might change these names later, but for now, I think they serve well enough. Actually, that might be good. Oh, wait. Boop, boop. Nope. Let's see. That. Okay, so if Kyotes move in packs, then I have to tell the GM at some point how many creatures are in the pack. So that would actually be something like here. Like it's a type, it's a beast, it's intelligence, it's alignment. It'd be something like pack animal, pack creature. And it's like 3d8 are typically in a pack. And then what's the average of 3d8? 105 times 3, 12, 13, so 13, right? 4.5 times 3. Or should I just do 14? 14. So you can either, I prefer the GM roll, so I'll put that first, and then the average is 14. So the GM just rolls 1d8 until they get 14. Or that should probably be first. Upon being injured, Kyottes tend to call out to medic. Calls when needs from the pack, and then confound. It's like their tail moves in such a way that it makes it hard. Tail away that to aim to strike true. And that is partially just how they are, or it could be even considered magical. So their tails can have a magical component to them. See, PC must, I don't like that terminology. I think I did that multiple times, right? Yeah, must make a power roll. The next attack. To for their next attack. Excuse me. Let's make a precise roll for their next attack to hit. And then, so it's literally just like moving its tail in front of it, or slightly to the side as it's dashing around. such a makes it hard to strike true. Yeah, the GM can play with that. If the PC misses, fails, then I would say dash. Yeah. Then the dash. So now abilities are tied into one another. I'll make that bold. They cling to the PC must make a power roll to free themselves from the counter before it gnaws at them. And then Hunger Drives Kyotte. Amount at the time, classroom pause, playing dead, dash. So I have Yelp, bite, classroom pause, dash, confound. Okay. And that is how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's 6 abilities. So a Kyotte can have, 1d6 abilities. Oh, so the monster page will have all 6, but not every single Kyotte will have all 6. So there's still a little bit of a guessing game for the players. They're not sure which ones have Yelp or if all the Kyotes would do the confound or whatnot. Yeah, so that leaves a bit of randomness for each monster that the GM can play with. Speed? Creature speed? I would say they're dexterous. Are they fast? I would say they're fast. Can move 2 zones with a single action. Is that how I want it written though? I'd have to think about it. It'd be something like that, since they're quote unquote fast. I don't think I explained in any of my videos, but there's areas, and within areas there's the zones, a number of zones. So for example, if you have a area of an inn, then you have the main floor, second floor, the rooms. So the main floor would be one zone. If there's like an elevated section or non-elevated section like the kitchen, that would be another zone. Second floor would be a zone. Each room would be its own zone. Things like that. It's like pretty straightforward. Oh, right, the morale. I'd have to... I mean, if I go back to the... here. Morale 9, section 3. It's literally just this little tiny thing. And then they have all this room. It's the same with the saves. I mean, they have their abilities kind of down here-ish. So that's where like my abilities would go. But theirs is only like a single page. Like the next page is a different monster. I'd have to fit all that on one page. I feel like I can, but I'm not sure. Especially if you have a picture next to each thing, next to each creature. Or morale. I mean, morale is just a simple mechanic. I would also say, I explained a little bit in the warrior thing, but not the warrior video, but not in too much detail. Um, there are like fears, or what was the word I used? Let me see if I can find it real quick, actually. Miscellaneous videos. The warrior. Aversions. So they're aversion to fire. So there's certain things that like creatures in general, the different types are afraid of. So in this case, it's a beast. So they are too are afraid of fire. So things that could cause the creature to flee. Aversion to flame. They have being like half injured or something like that. Like, how would you write that though? Like half injured. I mean, I guess I could just write it like that, but it's not too straightforward, right? Head. When their head is injured, if they're half injured. Oh, like 4E has that simple term, like bloodied. So if I have a term like that, then I can just write it as simple as that. If their head is wounded, you have to make a precise wound on their head. Boom. Then they make a morale check if you succeed. Is that too simple? If you have fire, that's simple, right? So this is kind of the same thing. You have to roll dice for this one. The head is wounded. I'm not too sure about that one. Maybe. But bloodied, I like that. I don't know if I could use that term. Might have to change the term. I'm not sure. These are the things that would cause a morale check. And then how much XP does it award? I don't really have experience in my game. These are simple creatures. They don't really give experience. They give items or materia. So you can get the tail. The tail had that confound ability, right? The confound. Or trait. I mean, you could get claws and paws. Maybe the paw has some trait to it. Like clasping hands, clasping paws. You're able to hold on your items better. That's probably it. They're not really worth much. You just really just don't want to deal with them. Like for goblins, their loot, they have like, rusty swords, ragged cloth, armor. Like you don't really want their armor, you don't really want their stuff. You just fight them and you move on. Maybe they have some gold on them. So this, maybe they have a random item. I think that's simple enough, right? If I move on to individual variation, so alignment, behavior, and speech listed typically traits of creatures encountered in Dolmenwood Woods. They're providing as a quick guide for the referee. Present the traits of all individuals of that type of creature. Referee should tailor the alignment, behavior, and personality creature as an individual desired. So variance. I mean, I have variance with the abilities, but not so much the creature's persona, or like how they look and stuff. Encounter behaviors. Creatures can be encountered either in their lair, dwelling encampment, or wandering abroad. The number of creatures typically encountered abroad is listed. Chance in lair, lair encounter. Is that part of the creature sheet though? Shouldn't that be part of go back here. Like zones would have a creature there, and then the GM would roll for the creature that spawns, or the GM can decide a creature that's there. Am I gonna do encounters like that? I'm gonna have to think about that. I'm generally not sure. Oh. And then I'm thinking if I had like 2 other things, 4 other things, something like that, I could make just the PC roll to see what they get and how many Kyottes there are would determine that as well. Encounter. Oh, maybe retrieving their items is one. I mean, that seems like a bad reward. I'm not sure. Encounter. Next thing is behavior. General demeanor or mindset. I mean, I did not have a description here. I would say, so there are these tricksy things that like to take things. But that's the worm. These ones are a little bit more simple. Oh, by the way, which section is this? Behavior, speech, all part of the encounter section. Just simple terms. Oh, I would say they are tricksy, envious, Um, skittish or yeah, I guess skittish. That's probably all. Speech. These guys don't speak at all. Oh, well, I guess they yelp. Speech. They don't. They speak. They do communicate. I would say they're intelligent enough to signal to their other um, brethren, since they have pack tactics. And they are always wanting. So it's like this constant yelping. You can probably hear them a mile away. You're less likely to be caught up by them, snuck up by them. Possessions. Um, in my game, I'd have to think about how I'd want that. Like, if some creature has equipment, like let's say you encounter, again, if I go down the Dolemwood page, the very first creature, a wraith, see it has a sword, it has clothes and stuff like that. Am I documenting all that? Are they gonna have um, armor slash a sword or possessions? None. See? So you can't even like take their stuff, I guess? What about something that does have possessions? Is there really? A lot of them don't have anything. Oh, binding scroll. So where do they put that? They put it down here. So it's just an item that you place on the page. Something that the PC would want. Whatever the creature drops. So the creature, I mean, earlier I had XP. So, and then I replaced that with material. So this seems like the possession. I mean, the tail seems good enough to me. Maybe a random item. So the PC roll 1d6. And then I'd list retrieving their items. I'd list what items that would be. So I'm just gonna write silly things here. Stick, mushroom, leaf, rock. Okay. So what's interesting? How about potions. Hmm. If you're in a caravan, I don't know, what's something like totally random that they would typically have? Hmm. They would just eat that mushroom. I mean, they wouldn't really be fighting you if they didn't have, if they had stuff, right? I'd have to think. Gnome door. Flat rock. See, that's interesting. It, like a gnome door, but like to us, to someone who doesn't know, it's a flat rock. But to someone who looks at it, they can be like, no, that's a doorway to a gnome's hovel. And then you have a quest on your hand, or potential quest. A gnome might come to you, or you might go seek out a gnome. This has... Is it municipal? Municipal. I don't think so. Properties. That's not right, right? Let me look this up. Having a local government, yeah, that's what I thought. Medicinal. There we go. Uh, ooh, what about something from another world, another realm? So, for example, a, a bog frog, a critter. There we go. Okay, that's slightly interesting. Um, like, example, a bog frog. So this. Maybe something like that. And then the stick could be a... I think it'd be funny if it was a walking stick, but every other, uh, every fourth of the time, a Kyote's gonna have a walking stick. I don't think so. root. No. Stick a root. I'm not sure. I'll have to think about it some more. I will highlight that for later. I linked these three. Okay. Encounters. We have speech. We have possessions. So those are the material one can have and its possessions that the PC would roll. This is quickly turned into 2 pages, which I'm kind of okay with. I mean, not really though. It'd be cool if I could simplify all this and fit it all on 1 page. Hoard. Not everything has a hoard. So well, what is a hoard? Item and treasures found in creature's lair. Letter codes indicate standard treasure. Small groups. Possessions. I'll change this to items. Well, I can just get rid of it. Hoard. Is everything gonna have a layer that the PCs can go to? I mean, technically yes, but I'm not sure. Every creature have a nest and or lair. Probably not everyone. I'm sure there's an exception of not having one, but in general. Notes. Yes, I think notes are good, either for the GM or the players. And then Dolomwood has flavor tables. They have right here the encounters. Well, traits, encounters, and layers. And then their traits. Well, I can't read it here. But if I look down here, traits. Wields the size of ancient sword or ancient sword. Damages as per touch. Utters a single sinister word. Skull wreath in blue flame. Jewels in blue sockets. Just like little things about them. See, if I have like this little note, you know, this is for the Warote, not the Kyotte, but if I had like a little tiny little paragraph that has information, it tells you how they operate. There's, you know, we were talking about how they're skittish earlier. It tells you like kind of what they target, why they would target something. In cruel situations, one can find themselves surrounded by such fiends with little chance of escape. And then this is like even a note to the players, like the lore slash bestiology. So this would be like my quote-unquote flavor table. Brief description of the tea. Special powers, mechanical traits. Okay, what about this? So if you make it part of the rules, does it? It kind of helps, but not really. So, like, for example, if the PC wants to make a knowledge check on the creature, they have to like roll dice, and if they succeed, the GM's like, okay, and then the GM describes something. Or the GM could say, you can go to the page and describe something to the um, PCs, to your players. And then by default, that means the player can't go look up a creature unless they make a knowledge check. I mean, if the player already knows something, that's fine. Versus if they don't know anything, then they will want to roll. And then hopefully they have the knowledge to learn it. That could kind of be cool. PC must make a knowledge check to learn about a particular aspect of the world. They then can... Whoa. I feel like that's a little bit too silly because, you know, it's probably cool the first time and then after that not so much. So I'm going to... I don't want to highlight it. It's like a question though. Cute. Is this interesting mechanic or no? And I can think about that later. So flavor tables, brief description. 7 names. Example of a few of names listed out for sentient creatures that use personal names. No, I won't have that at all. If a creature has a name, it will just be called that in the unique mobs section of my book. Names, no. This be in the section of the book. I should probably do the same for the other little subsections like possessions and stuff so I can keep track of everything. But in general, this would be like the players, the enemy page. There'd be like a, you know, a creature. If I go here real quick. So copy. These are images I just found online. So it'd be like creature type, intelligence, alignment. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have alignment. Pack creatures, tier 1 threat. Like this isn't directly within the game like that. It's more of a soft mechanic indirectly. The different states of the world. I have threat tier 1, and then I could probably fit all these abilities on one page. However, Everything else, I'm not too sure about. If I could fit that all on one page. If I could simplify it, of course. But either way, this is me trying to conceptualize a creature, make it a little bit more grounded, and then I was using Dolomwood's formatting to help. I'll work on it a little bit more, get it cleaned up, and then see if I could get it looking a little bit more professional. But either way, this is all signing off, and I hope something weird and wondrous finds you well.